But when you operate with the belief that you wouldn't even be aware of the desire unless the possibility for its fulfillment already existed, that changes the game. That changes everything. Then you get to the place where it's like, you know what, doubt and fear, I'm not even going to entertain you because I know that you're not truth. So today's episode is a long time coming. It's something I've been wanting to record for a while. I am sharing the quote that really helps guide my life. It's helped shift my mindset in ways that nothing else ever has. It's helped me to manifest more of what I desire in my life. It's helped me to get out of fear and doubt and move forward even when it seems like things aren't working. It's helped me to trust my heart and what I'm being called to do or have. And I wanted to break this down for you today because it's a quote that I share in a lot of my master classes and a lot of my teachings. And every time I bring it up, I tell them, I say, you know what, we could have spent the entire master class talking about this. We could have spent the entire session on just this one quote. And so today I want to break down every piece of this quote and share why it's so powerful in helping you create anything that you want. Whether it's the start of a new year, a new quarter, a new chapter of your life, it doesn't matter. This will change everything for you. So first and foremost, I'm going to read it, and then we're going to break it down. So this is from the author Raymond Hollywell. He says, "True desire represents the urge of life seeking a fuller expression and is kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. It brings to us the ways and means for its manifestation. The principle explains no desire is felt until the supply is ready to appear. No mind can be conscious of a need or desire unless the possibility of its fulfillment already exists." Okay, so let's take this line by line. True desire represents the urge of life seeking a fuller expression. This is huge. So many people are embarrassed by their desires, ashamed by their desires, feel like they're not worthy of what it is that they want. But true desire is literally about the urge of life seeking a fuller expression. So your desires are leading you towards your fully expressed life, you living life to the fullest, you being the best version of you, you having everything that you need to achieve your goals or your purpose, you being the brightest light that you can be on this planet. And how in the world could we make that wrong? And that was one of those pieces that when I really got that and understood that the world is actually benefited by me living out my greatness, everything changed. So think about it. There are probably tons of people who have inspired you over the years. If they had never followed their desires, would that have actually happened? Would you know who they are? Would you be privy to their journey and feel that level of inspiration that you get when you read their books, listen to their podcast, whatever it may be, learn from them? Maybe it's just someone in your social circle or in your family. They've followed their desires. I know for me growing up, one of my great uncles, he was a producer in Hollywood. And I always saw his life and the fact that he left Ohio and followed his desires as an example of what was possible. And I really admired that he did something different because that was not the norm for every single person in my family. Now, of course, there are various degrees of doing something different, but I was always interested in California and that lifestyle and, being somebody who paved the way for something. He was somebody who is known as kind of the father of the television movie. And so maybe there's somebody like that for you in your life where you can see that by them following their desire, they're really living their fully expressed life. And it's actually giving you permission to do the same. Now, there's a part here that says, and is kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. I'm going to circle back to that. Okay. That's really important, especially if you're looking to achieve new goals or get to the next level, but I'm going to come back to that. Then he goes on to say, it brings to us the ways and means for its manifestations. Basically, what he's saying here is that your desire will tell you the ways and the means for its manifestations. Period. Now, I know that this might be confusing for some people. Maybe you're listening and you're like, there are plenty of things that I want, but I have no idea how to get them. Now, what I've found is that sometimes we have clarity right away. Other times it takes patience, okay? And that's where this continuous expectation comes into play that I'll talk about in just a second. But your desire is not going to present itself without the ways and the means to actually manifest it. And that's huge because sometimes the how gets in the way. People have a desire to build a business, to improve their health, to find love, whatever it may be, to grow their wealth, create financial abundance, and yet they don't know how to make it happen. But what this quote is saying is that actually you would never have the desire without the solution also being present. Okay? That's huge. And one of the ways that I've been able to apply this to my own life is to recognize that these desires are truth. Okay? And we're going to get more into that in a second. These desires are truth. And for example, if I want to create some sort of revenue for something I want to purchase, I believe that the desire is not there unless the money's there. Okay? So if the desire is there, the money's there because the solution is already there. Okay? Then he goes on to say, the principle explains no desire is felt until the supply is ready to appear. So that means that if you have a desire, the supply is literally right there, ready to appear. And the way I like to think about this is, again, you would not feel that calling unless the solution was there or the supply was there. And I remember back in the day when I was first starting out in my business and I was practicing sales. Well, not really practicing. I was having sales calls, but I realized I needed a lot of practice. One of the things that was a big issue and contributed to the fact that I had 54 no's in a row, 54 people said no to me in terms of my coaching program, was that I wasn't willing to have a conversation with them about money. And I was still stuck in a lack mindset. But what this quote, and of course, other work that I've done in my life has helped me do, is to understand that if the desire is there, the supply is ready to appear. And that means the money. So now when I speak to potential clients, I believe the money is already there for them if the desire is also there. The desire has to be greater than that fear for them to take that action. Otherwise, they're probably going to be stuck for a while. They're going to be in that same loop. They're going to give into their fear, doubt, and insecurity. And they're not going to see the opportunity to either find or create the money to pay for the thing that they want. But when you operate with the belief that if the desire is there, the supply is there, that negates all the fear and doubt. You don't even have to worry. Your job is literally just to get curious about where the money's going to come from. Just to get curious about where the sale or the client's going to come from. That's it. And then follow those breadcrumbs that lead you to the solution. When you have a desire, you're actually already energetically aligned with that thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be aware of it. Okay? So he goes on to say here, no mind can be conscious of a need or a desire unless the possibility of its fulfillment already exists. That's huge. You're energetically aligned with your desire when it comes into your consciousness. You can trust that it is truth and it is meant for you when it comes into your consciousness. Think about it. So when I was growing up, I had the desire to do something different. I didn't know what that was. So ultimately, I fell into a normal path of going to college and then then applying to grad schools around the world. And I was literally driving from Ohio to Chicago, where I was going to attend Northwestern, when I got this feeling in my stomach that was not the right fit for me. So turned the car around, went back to Ohio, had to move in with my parents, worked at Starbucks for a bit. And one of the things that was calling me was this desire to move to London, England. Now, I'll go ahead and toot my own horn here for a second. One of the things I've always been good at is never taking no for an answer and always finding a solution to whatever it is that I want. And that's why I really believe that all of us, If we really wanted something, we'd have it already. But oftentimes, doubt and fear gets in the way. But what this is saying here is that you don't even have to believe the doubt and fear when you solidify your mind and know that you wouldn't even be conscious of the desire unless the possibility already existed. And that's what I truly believed in my heart when I felt that calling to move to London. That was not a rational decision. And not everyone in the world wants to move to another country. So the more unique your desires, the more you can trust that they are truth and meant for you. And I knew that if I had that feeling of being called to live in a different country, there must be a way for me to make it happen. Again, I was not going to take no for an answer, so to speak. And so I found the solution. I applied to a master's program in something completely different, actually in nonfiction writing. I got a student visa and moved to London, didn't know anyone, and kicked off my life there. Ended up meeting my husband online a year later, and the rest is history. So clearly, my intuition was spot on. My desire was spot on. But how many people would keep driving to the grad school? How many people would deny their intuition and not trust it? How many people would be like, oh, that's a crazy desire. There's no way I could ever do that, and just throw in the towel? But when you operate with the belief that you wouldn't even be aware of the desire unless the possibility for its fulfillment already existed, that changes the game. That changes everything. Then you get to the place where it's like, you know what, doubt and fear, I'm not even going to entertain you because I know that you're not truth. I know I would not be aware of the desire for this house or for this business or for this love or for whatever it is, the Louis Vuitton bag, unless the possibility for its fulfillment already existed. And that's when we circle back to the part that I skipped over here. It says, true desire represents the urge of life seeking a fuller expression and is kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. Now, this is really important. So many people who are teaching manifestation, first of all, this is not bashing those people, but I want to really make it clear that sometimes it takes time to manifest something in your life, especially something like a thriving business, okay? Of course, I believe in the power of the universe, but I also believe that there are building blocks that you have to put in place and steps that you get to take in order to reach a result. And I also know that there are often other factors involved in the situation. So maybe one's the economy. Maybe another one is the customer base that you're going after changes. Maybe you're pregnant like me and your body has limitations, right? There are things that happen in life that are potentially out of our control that affect what it is that we're looking to create. And that's where this key point comes into play. He says, is kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. So when you really desire something, there's not going to be doubt involved. Doubt kills dreams, right? You'll have the expectation that this is actually going to happen. We might not know when, but you're going to trust it and you're going to continue to move forward and recognize the supply is ready to appear. Or recognize that the supply is there and ready to appear. We just don't know when the ready moment will actually be. Now, one of my favorite teachers, David Nagel, he talks about the fact that oftentimes one of the issues with people who want to create a lot of success is that they're essentially taking the pot on and off the stove. And he says you can't boil a pot of water, so to speak, by taking it on and off the stove. It doesn't heat up enough. And yet that's what we're doing every single day. We're like, you know what? I want great health. I want to improve my fitness. I want stronger muscles. I want to lose weight. I want to have more energy, or I want to start the business, or I want to be able to purchase the dream home, or I want to travel first class. I want to actually take the trip to Italy. I want to have a baby. I want to meet true love. And yet we go into doubt. We take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And if things, even the slightest hint that something isn't happening, if things feel like they're not happening, then we're taking that pot on and off the stove. We lose faith. We begin to doubt our dreams. Instead of staying in this place where he talks about it's kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. And the reason why this quote works so well with all the different components is you will get back into trust if you recognize and remember that no desire is felt unless the supply is ready to appear. Now, again, the readiness timeline, that might not be an exact science. It might not happen exactly the way you want it to or on your timeline. But if you recognize you wouldn't have the desire unless the supply is ready to appear, and no mind can be conscious of a need or desire unless the possibility of its fulfillment already exists, and then you add in continuous expectation, even if it feels like things aren't happening, well, of course, you're going to keep moving forward. And this is not about going to the top of a mountain and meditating your way to success. This is about keeping the faith and also continuing to take action and finding the solution. Don't you think if you live your life based on this quote, you will take way more action than someone who doesn't believe their desires are truth, or someone who is not aware that they're essentially taking the pot on and off the stove? Don't you think if you trust that what is in your heart is meant for you and possible, you will be way more inclined to find a solution to actually make it happen? Of course. And yet so many people have these dreams and desires, and then in the next moment it's like, okay, well, that's not meant for me, or that's not possible, or that's a lofty goal. I could never reach that, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, whatever it is, I'm not confident enough. And they dismiss that desire. And so my invitation for you today is start to understand that your desires are like your DNA. They're a part of you, and they're dropped in, and they're meant for you, and they're possible. And if you experience them and you're aware of them, that means the supply is ready to appear. And your job is literally to trust that and to keep moving forward, even if it feels like something isn't happening. Even if it feels like, or it is taking longer than you want, even if it looks a little bit different than what you expected. And to really understand that your desires are calling you to live your fully expressed life. All right. And that's what's available for you. So think about it. Have you had that lid on tight? Have you been that person who hasn't actually been living life to the fullest? And what would it look like if you allowed yourself to do that? What would it look like if you allowed yourself to be fully expressed? Maybe that would mean moving to another country. Maybe it would mean quitting your job and starting your own business. Maybe it would mean asking for a raise or going for a different job. Maybe it would mean putting yourself out there in the online dating space. Maybe it would mean getting more visible on Instagram and actually sharing your story and your message. Maybe it would mean speaking on stage or writing a book or starting a podcast. Regardless of what it is, think about what you living your fully expressed life looks like, what desires are involved in that, and start to shift your mindset to understand that your desires are truth. Because the cool thing is, what happens when you really get this quote and you live your life based on this is doubt is eradicated. And think about how much energy you're wasting on doubt. If we have a bucket of energy that's available for us every single day, how many holes in your bucket are based on doubt? You're literally leaking energy or leaking water, right? What would happen if you were in full trust of your desires? And it was like, okay, I desire this thing. Awesome. Instantaneous response is great. It's meant for me and possible. How do we get it? Think about how much faster you would reach your goals if that was your mindset versus, again, taking that pot on and off the stove. Well, I don't know if it's possible for me. How would I actually do it? I don't have a plan. That seems too challenging. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. It's not possible. That's a crazy thought. Who would ever believe that? Right? Those are all the thoughts that go through our mind. So the next time you have a desire, big or small, it could literally be, I want to go to the best restaurant in town tonight. Great. Follow it. Trust it. It's meant for you and possible. You can practice with something small here. It doesn't have to be something huge. Because the point is, we want to start to develop your trust muscles, your trust in your desires. I began to trust myself greatly when I moved to London and started to see all the things unfolding before my eyes. Meeting my husband, James, connections I made, just feeling amazing when I was living in the UK, being able to travel, right? So start to pay attention to those moments where you follow your desires and it feels incredible and things work out and you go to the next level, because it'll make it so much easier for you to be in full trust the next time that desire comes up for you. And I'm going to read this quote one more time just so you can have it and you can reference it and come back to it. Raymond Holliwell says, "True desire represents the urge of life seeking a fuller expression and is kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. It brings to us the ways and means for its manifestations. The principle explains no desire is felt until the supply is ready to appear. No mind can be conscious of a need or a desire unless the possibility of its fulfillment already exists." So I hope you love this quote as much as I do. I hope it can support you in moving closer to your dreams and your desires. Hold it close to you. Use it as a reference point. Come back to it when you go into doubt or fear. Don't be that person taking the pot on and off the stove. You are better than that. And I'll look forward to talking to you next time.